everybody, welcome back. My name is Cassie. I'm the Evil Secret Ninja, and today I'm doing my weekly reading update or reading blog for the week of for November 7th. So these are all the books that I read this week. And I finished 6 books this week. Some of them were for the end of October, even though there was only like one day in October. The ones that I finished for the rest of the week. So I finished 6 altogether. The first one was Lakesedge by Lyndall Clipstone, and this is the first book in the World at Lakesedge series, and so I guess it's going to be a series. And this follows a boy and a girl, and they live with either a stepmother or an aunt or something, and this person doesn't really like them. They have certain characteristics that kind of make them outcasts of the town, and they have to hide certain things. And one of the tithe collector comes and sees these 2 kids and is really interested in her brother and says, hey, there's something special about him, and I want him, and I'm going to take him away. And the girl insists that she goes too. And they are taken to Lakesedge, where there is this cursed lake, and the person that took them is known as a monster. He wants to use her brother to clear the curse, but of course nothing is quite what it seems. I had quite a bit of fun with this book. There were a lot of things that it reminded me of. Like, it certainly had like vibes from Beauty and the Beast and Hansel and Gretel and like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So there was a lot of things that I kind of wonder like what the author's inspiration was for it. And this was the Owl Crate book for September. The next 2 books, A Silent Voice, Volumes 3 and 4, by Yositoki Oima. And these are about a boy who bullied this girl when they were in elementary school because she was deaf. She ended up having to leave the school, and now he's trying to make up for it. He's run into her several years later. He's pretty much become an outcast. Nobody likes him anymore, and he kind of shuns the whole world. But he's hoping that by making friends with this girl that he was so mean to and making up for what he did, that things can be different for him. And this series, it certainly just breaks my heart. I'm actually quite impressed with Japan and the stuff that they're coming out with and how it speaks to kids. For the age group that it's written at, it covers a lot of good, heavy topics in a way that kids can understand. The next book that I finished was Patternmaster by Octavia Butler, and this is the 4th book in the Patternmaster series. This series I've liked pretty good. I just have to say that it was more like it was intriguing, like I had to know what happened next. The story and the characters were different, and Octavia Butler always like kind of brings in like other things that like from the past and different things like that kind of make the story connected to the history that has happened in our country. So the first 2 books kind of follow these immortals, and they have this kind of strange little breeding program going on that they are trying to create a legacy of people who have similar abilities to them. And then in the 3rd one, in Clay's Arc, we follow this, again, a breeding type program, but this one involves a disease or parasite or something from outer space. And then in the 4th one, these 2 are enemies. We kind of have the final conclusion and them kind of duking it out in the end. It was different. I mean, I enjoyed them a lot. And then the next book was Heroes Die by Matthew Wooding Stover, and this is the 1st book in the Acts of Cain. And this is kind of a science fiction, kind of fantasy mix. In our world, we've discovered kind of an alternate dimension that's kind of like this fantasy place where magic and everything takes place. And we found a way to go there. So they send certain people there that they call actors, and they record like what goes on with them in this other place. And then the masses can purchase them, experience everything that goes on in this other world. In this other world, they are aware that there are these actors there, and that these actors are kind of trying to overthrow their world. And it was actually a lot of fun to read. Had a lot of crude parts in it. There's this new kind of type of book out there, like the lit RPG, where people are like either in video games or in a world where they level up and stuff like that. And this kind of seems like a little bit of a precursor to those. I mean, there's not really like leveling up. What really annoys me about those books anyway. But it is like them transporting to another world where they have to do certain things. So it was different, it was enjoyable, and it was really kind of crude at certain points. For some reason, my kids, when looking through my Audible selection, wanted to try it out. So we tried about a little bit of it, and then it was really not appropriate. Because it was a little bit too crude. So we decided we were done with that. So I just finished it on my own. And it was pretty good. And then the next one was the one that me and my kids decided on. And that was called Cataclysm, Viridian Gate Online. Yeah, this is the first book in the Viridian Gate Online series. And this isn't a lit RPG. Like I said, like, there are things like I really don't like about them. I don't like the leveling up and everything. But this one wasn't too annoying, I guess. Like, there was actually a story along with it. It is the end of the world. There is a meteorite crashing toward the world. It's going to wipe out all life on Earth. And people are given the option of they may join Viridian Gate Online, which their consciousness will be transferred to this video game type arena. Within 72 hours, obviously, their physical body is going to die. And there's like a 1 in 6 chance that they're going to die, but their other option is to get killed and die anyway. So it doesn't really say like where this computer program is or where the computers are, so that they're not going to get affected by said destruction of the world, or what happens if the server goes down, because we never have problems like that. So we follow Jack, and he was on an ambulance, and now he's been transported. He gets to pick his class and everything else, and he's trying to decide what he wants to do in this world. And of course, we find out that there's a lot of sinister things going on in this world. That the powerful people in the world are trying to make themselves powerful when they transition to the game. Which, obviously, that makes sense. It's not like you're always going to have a hierarchy. It was kind of fun. My kids enjoyed it a lot more than I did. We like to listen to books together. And they actually asked if there were more in them, which there are. There's like a lot of books in the series. I think there's like a trilogy, and then there's a bunch of other characters, I guess, that they follow. So I will likely be continuing this series at some point. So those are the 6 books I read last week. Currently I am reading, and here's the books that I'm currently reading. First one is The Heroes by Joe Abercrombie. This is the second standalone in the First Law world. I know this is a serious book. I know there's a lot of torture and death and destruction going on. But I am finding some very funny... I don't know if they're funny, but I'm laughing at them. There's just things that are happening and certain situations, and like, that's kind of makes me giggle, even though it's a horrible situation. So this is a 3-day battle. I'm just finding all these little things that I'm finding that are kind of funny. I'm having a lot of fun with the book. So that's the first book that I'm currently reading. I'm pretty close to being done. I'm got a little over 100 pages left. The second book that I'm currently reading is Shadowheart by Ted Williams. This is the final book in the Shadow March series, and I'm pretty close to being done with this one. I should be done with it in a couple of days. And this is kind of the final battle, the wrap up into the world, possibly, for Shadow March. And we're trying to figure out who's going to win, who's going to save the kingdom. This series has been really fun to read. There's a lot going on. And so I'm currently reading that. And then the last book that I just started was Morning Star by Pierce Brown, and this is the third book in the Red Rising series. This is a world it's a science fiction world, and it's based on Mars and in space and different places. And the hierarchy in this world is set by color. And so we follow a person who is red, who is at the very bottom, and he is a slave. and kind of forced to do things at the whim of everyone else. And he has been infiltrated into the Golds, who are kind of the rulers of the world, and he's trying to overthrow the way that the world works. And I just started it, and so far it's going along well. So those are the books that I'm currently reading, and here's the books that I'm going to pick up next when I'm done with those. So I'm going to pick up Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, and this is the first book in the Live Ship Traders. I guess they're about these ships that are made out of this special wood that makes them alive. So I'll be seeing what that's about. I'll pick up Why We Don't Die in Dreams by Debbie Zello, and this is, I don't know, a friend of mine said I might like it. So I think it's like a detective mystery, but they're dreaming about the killer or something like that. So, not sure, I'll find out. And the next one I'll probably pick up with my kids is Lodestar. This is the 5th book in The Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. And this follows Sophie, who is an elf, but she was raised by humans. And she is trying to save the elf world from the dissenters, the Nevermore. And the last book was ended in quite an interesting place, and we'll see what happens. And then the next book, I don't know if I'll get to this or not, because this would be the audiobook that I pick up after Morningstar, so I'll just kind of see how far I get through it. But they're both, the audiobooks I'm listening to this month are a little bit longer, so I might not get to it. But that would be The Crimson Campaign by Brian McClellan. This is the 2nd book in the Powder Mage trilogy. This is kind of a flintlock fantasy, definitely like a military fantasy, where the magic consists of snorting gunpowder. So the first book I enjoyed pretty good, and I'll be excited to see what happens next. So that is my update for this week. Those are all the books that I finished this week, what I'm currently reading, and what I plan to pick up next. Thank you everybody for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.